Yes, people, good morning to Albert JTV in Hollie's Hotspurs. Match review time. England are in the final, first time ever in the Women's World Cup final. So much to talk about. But before we get into it, let's hit the intro. England Lionesses stand tall at Stadium Australia. They make their first ever World Cup final. Toon, Hemp and Russo silence the Matildas. This team is special, and somehow they find a way to win. Welcome to Albert JTV meets Hollie's Hotspurs. Match review time. And there you have it, people. Yes, I'm smiling like a Cheshire cat for the last 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever many hours it's been. People, good morning, firstly, wherever you are, or good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Albert JTV and Hollie's Hotspurs. This is a match review I've been looking forward to for a little bit. People, like I said, I'm still buzzing, to be honest. Again, as I said before, because of the timing of the games, I had to watch it back on the replay. So being at work and having to get text messages from Hollie, updates and this and that, and tweets from everybody, it was a bit manic. But England are there. This is incredible. But like I said, smash the like button for my channel, Albert JTV, and Hollie's Hotspurs, people. We can do this. Forget club rivalries. It's not even about that. It is about Sunday. But Hollie, my amazing co-host, show 7, a peak audience, I believe, of 7.3 million for that semi-final.
Madness.
Yeah. Hollie, how have you been? Is that a stupid question? But I'm going to ask you anyway.
I am buzzing. I cannot wait for Sunday. It's going to be live in the Agombar. My dad's already put the gazebo up, even though it's torrential rain today. The man's done it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this final.
Yes, I don't think we could have picked a better tournament to collab with. But yes, we've got 2 amazing guest people. Hollie, you're kind of outnumbered, but you're not. But the person who we're going to bring in lastly is outnumbered because 3-1. But you know what I mean. Firstly, we're going to introduce the amazing G Talks Arsenal, my brother from another mother. Thank you for joining us.
No problem at all. No problem at all. It's a tad early for me because I'm currently on school holidays. So I'm not working during the week, but no, I had to do it, man. I had to join yourself, Hollie, and obviously our final guest. I won't reveal just right now, but yeah, no, amazing game. Watched it live. I had the the luxury of being able to watch it live. Watched it with the family. With the 3 of my girls as well. So my missus, my 2 daughters, and it was an amazing game. For so many reasons, more than just the football that took place on the pitch. But yeah, no, I can't wait to get into it, man. Lionesses done their thing.
Yeah, there's still 1 more to go now. Good to get. And last but not least, listen, this guy is my brother from another mother, from down under, only 11 hours ahead, I believe. And bringing my guy Scott Borg, man.
Evening, friends. Evening.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see you. I am pleased to see you because it's been a while, but obviously, probably maybe not under these circumstances. But thank you for joining us, man.
All good, always a pleasure, guys. And I was hoping we'd chat under different circumstances, but you know what? How convenient, man. We haven't had a chat for a while, and boom, England knock us out in the semi-final, and you flash the bat light. Give me the call, and I'm here. But now look, plenty to chat about, guys. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. Big up to Robbie in the chat, man. Love Rob, man. Yeah, listen, there's so much to talk about. I almost don't even know where to start. What will I do? I'm going to come to my my brother from another mother from down under. Scott, so I want to talk to you about Australia, really, not just about the game the other night, but I think coming into the tournament, a lot of people me and Hollie spoke to kind of looked at Australia as probably dark horses or outsiders to go deep into the tournament. How was your sort of thoughts and feelings coming into the tournament, Australia?
Look, there's been a lot of controversy, and I mean, around the coach, Gustafsson. There was a lot of chat. Is he getting the best out of this squad? Are we seeing the best version of the Matildas? And it kind of got to the point where it was too late for anyone to make another choice. We were going to let him ride out the tournament. We play a friendly few days before the World Cup, and Sammy Kerr goes off injured. And she's an absolute bull. I'm sure we'll talk about her later. And then there's this whole big, will she play? Won't she play? and she basically set out the whole group stage. So a lot of people initially, when they kind of heard that we were losing Sam Kerr, a lot of people's hopes and expectations took a bit of a hit. Because when you've got a player who's that good, and I don't think anyone's going to contest that point with me, when you've got someone that good and you lose them, that can really dent a team. But yeah, we started to see this Matilda's team really gel, really feed off the passion in the stadium and the fans and that home ground fighting spirit. And they really did themselves proud, I thought. They fed off that, they galvanized, and they managed to play some good football without Sam Kerr. So it just built up from there. But the expectations then started to climb, and I know the whole country was really buzzing at the chance of a final, but wasn't to be, guys. Wasn't to be.
Yeah, Scott. Coming back to you quickly again before I sort of bring in Hollie to ask you a question. I've got to be honest. Obviously, I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch the game. I knew that. I've done that for quite a few of the games in the tournament, to be honest. But I've got to admit, I've got to be honest. I was feeling a little bit before the game. I was going to work. I was thinking, you know what? I couldn't have picked a worse day to go into work. Because I knew if England made it to the final, I could definitely watch it because I knew the game was going to be on a Sunday. But I thought I was really feeling it, to be honest with you. So I don't know how you felt as Australian, but before the game, I saw they put up a record in terms of Australia's games against against big teams. It was incredible. I'm going to get up on screen now. This is before they get obviously England game, and they beat Sweden at home in a home fixture 4-0. Spain, they beat them 3-2. England obviously 2-0 here, I think it was this was a friendly in England. I can't remember what stadium it was at. You beat France twice and you beat Canada. So I didn't know that. That's pretty impressive against top sides. So obviously Australia can raise their game. And was you aware of that record before the game?
Yeah, look, we'd seen it floating around. We've definitely seen it, and we know that's kind of the Aussie way, man. We like to punch up, like we like to go, and we like to play in those big games with a lot of pressure. We don't mind being under the pump, and the team certainly show a lot of fight in those situations. So, yeah, we knew we had a good record, and I actually genuinely thought that home crowd advantage might get them over the line. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about how the game played out. But yeah, it was certainly disappointing to bow out. But we know we were capable of being in the match and winning it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So Hollie, coming over to you quickly for you. So like we had Jack on from is he from the Telegraph, or was it
the Mirror?
The Mirror. Sorry, let me get that right. Don't want to get in trouble. But no, I was pretty confident England could go and beat Australia. I knew it was going to be tough. I know it's going to be tough. But I was quite confident they could go and win. So what's your sort of thoughts about that before the game?
Yeah, I think, like we said, it was going to be a different environment for England to kind of see if they could thrive in it. Obviously, we were the home nation in the Euros, and obviously we're used to a home crowd. And obviously, I was a bit worried to see whether we'd be okay and be able to cope with an away kind of ground and hostile environment. I think we did really well. Obviously, we did in terms of what the result was. But I think the one thing for me that stood out in that game, and I know we'll get onto it a bit later, but it was our defence. I think we've been very luxury in the sense of letting the ball drop or bounce, whereas that game, everybody was hot on it. So I think that was something. I don't know whether it kind of, the environment made us be able to do that. I don't know. I think we kind of thrived under it, if that was going to make sense. But yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, leading with your question.
Sorry, you can tell it's early for me. I was going to come to you, G, because obviously we spoke about the hostile environment, and yet again, we saw Serena kept with an unchanged team. So for you going into that semi-final, did that kind of bring you a sense of, okay, we're going to play the way we kind of played in the last games? This is the Serena way sort of thing. Were you kind of happy at the fact she kept the same kind of team against these lot?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's always a pretty good sign when, whether it be at club level or even international level, that you've got a consistent 11, that, the manager can kind of call upon and trust. So for me, there were no alarm bells there. There were no real surprises. I kind of expected the lineup to be what it was. And I think what's so good about this, this England team is that they just find a way. And they produce a performance, and a lot of the time it does, I know they came into some criticism earlier on in the tournament, particularly with, the 1-0 wins. I think it was over, Haiti. And I think the other one
Denmark.
It was against Denmark.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of criticism in terms of, you only score in one goal, etc., etc. But I think this team responds to the opposition and the magnitude of the game. I think you saw that in the Euros, and I think you've seen that now in this World Cup. We've got to it's crunch time. This was a huge game in a very hostile environment. That was my only concern. My concern wasn't about the team selection. It wasn't about the individuals that were on the field, because we've seen many a times in the Euros since then, and even at the beginning of this tournament, regardless of the criticism that's come their way, they've found a way to win. And they found a way to progress in the tournament. So I wasn't concerned about the team selection or the players that were, selected. I was a little bit concerned about the magnitude of the match. And I mean, I can't imagine playing in, that type stadium with that many people, and that many people that are supporting the opposition, the home nation. That's an incredibly high pressure situation. But I think what the Lionesses proved again is that, whatever test, whatever, obstacle comes in their way, they manage to find their way. And I was actually really, I know Albert was saying he was quite confident. I mean, I was confident that if we played the way we could, we would probably win the match. But I was actually really surprised just how well we played in such a hostile environment. I think the performance was very professional. I think if you look at I think you just had to watch the game. I don't know if Scott will disagree with me, but for me, I think it was clear that we were the better side across the 90 minutes. I think we had more possession of the ball.
Yeah,
there were times in the game when we looked, obviously, Australia pose a threat. That they're a good side. And I think in Sam Kerr, as Scott said, undeniably one of the world's best players.
What a goal.
Overall, I think the best team progressed, personally.
Yeah. And I think it's that big thing of actually we managed to cope with that high pressure environment. I think, like you said, we've never really had that kind of thing to deal with. So it's great that we managed to overcome that. But Scott, obviously, G's mentioned Sam Kerr, and we will get onto the goal. But how relieved were you to see us starting in that lineup against England?
Sure.
I might be a bit controversial, but I don't know if I was relieved or nervous. Now, she scored an absolute banger. We'll talk about that. But I still didn't get the feeling. I don't think anyone had the feeling that she was fully fit.
Yeah.
And she herself came out after the game and said, it's uncharacteristic of me to have missed that chance in the box. She's like, a couple more training sessions under my belt. If I was a bit fresher, I would have buried it. But I almost wanted to see her come off the bench a little bit later, obviously, depending on the circumstances of the game, because coming on with that impact has worked relatively well with the team. They managed to find a way to play without her, and then we could bring her on as a bit of a luxury. But look, seeing her start, no one was upset about it. She's, again, one of the world's best. She's an absolute talent. So it was great to see her on. I had doubts she'd last the full match, and I think that fatigue really set in. But you know what? To have her on the pitch was brilliant. And there was a lot of pressure on the Matildas because just to paint a bit of the context, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but you go to the UK and you know what the national sport is. There's no debate. Here in this country, for those who aren't familiar, what the national sport is depends on what state you're in. But wherever you go, the media over here, a lot of the government funding, football really gets shunned down under. It doesn't get a lot of respect. It's the highest played junior sport, but the funding is absolutely pathetic. The media is always trying to bash football here. So it hasn't had a lot of love down here. So for us to see, the broadcast down here was the most watched television event since 2001 when the rating system was established. It was watched by over 40% of the country on one platform. There were two other platforms you could have watched it on that weren't counted. And we had stadiums full that were just open for people to go and watch the match. So people going into other stadiums to watch it on the big screen with the atmosphere. So I dare say we had about 60-70% of the country watching one match. So there was a lot of pressure. And I think that pressure maybe got to them just a tiny bit as well. So, but look, for the Lionesses in name and nature, because they absolutely thrived under those conditions. There's a lot of English down here. A lot of your compatriots are down here, but man, they thrived. And I was impressed. If I take my Aussie hat off, really impressed by how the Lionesses thrived. Because I think G's right. They were the better team, start to finish. So I can't argue with that, G. You're right, my man. You're right.
I think Scott makes a really good point, because I can't lie. When I saw Sam Kerr's name on the team sheet, it's like my heart skipped a beat a little bit. I was like, oh, this could go, either way, because we've seen many a times in many a games, of this level where, teams will throw in their star player, but we know fully well the star player's not fit. I was actually surprised how well she actually played and the impact that she had, because I thought it was one of those. I've seen it many a times with Arsenal or with other international sides where, your star player's not fit, but you put them there in the hope that they can have an impact. Or, sometimes a lot of it's to do with, if that player's on the pitch, the impact it has on the rest of the team. The kind of morale boost, or the what they do to inspire the rest of the side. But I was actually really pleasantly surprised that, given the amount of lack of match fitness she had, how well she actually did, and obviously the influence she had on the game, because we'll talk about that goal, which was absolutely phenomenal. But at the same time, there were two other chances in that match. There was the chance where it was I think Fowler curled it into the box, and she got a little bit too much on the header. Another day, 9 out of 10 times she buries that. And then I think the other chance from the corner at the far post, it was with kind of on the volley again.
Got under it.
Yeah, like on another day, Kerr buries all three of those chances, and we're talking 3-3 and we're going into extra time. So it was one of those with her, is that she had a massive impact on the game. But I think because of lack of match fitness in key moments, couldn't quite make it work and get the goals that Australia needed.
The loss of Alana Kennedy really hurt us as well.
Massive.
That was on the eve of the match. We found out just before. People were on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And Alana Kennedy's out. And she's a big player, man. I didn't feel we looked defensively stable at any point in the match. The issue during the Cup for me has been kickstarting our attack without Samantha Kerr. But then losing Kennedy, I think...
Yeah, big loss.
That really, as Robbie was saying, we're watching the game together. The amount of times we mentioned her name, just to have her missing, someone with that much experience and a defender of that quality, we were much weaker for it. So I think she was probably a massive miss for us.
Yeah, it's interesting you guys talk about, so before I come with the next question in terms of like pressure and fitness, because I had it obviously with my fantastic Nigerian side that done us very proud. Like Osha Charlotte was not fit going into that tournament, and that's why she didn't start the game she started, because she was nursing injury. She even missed the Champions League final for Barcelona. So I get that with Sam Kerr, and I get what Scott's point was saying in terms of the pressure. You're right, Scott. Pressure is such a big word in sport, man. And I actually thought the pressure was on Australia, to be honest with you. I know England, I think a lot of their players are used to playing in big games now. I go back to the they beat the home nation in Canada in 2015. That was big. They're used to playing in big stadiums and occasions. But yes, I get it. It was definitely different in terms of beating Australia side on their own patch. I'm lucky enough to see it in the cricket and the netball, and obviously the football has happened now. Sorry, Scott, but I just want to mention that.
We won't talk about the Ashes, Piers Morgan. No? But no, settle down, Piers.
Yeah. We'll have that conversation another time. But I wanted to come to Scott again, actually. Ella Toone, what a strike! What an unbelievable strike! Hollie might agree with me in some of the England facts. She's not, for me, if the game she did play, she wasn't really that impactful. But one thing with her, and I found that there was an amazing stat. You might have heard this, guys. She's the only England player to ever score in a major tournament in a quarterfinal, semi-final, and a final, which is an unbelievable stat.
Big game player.
Yeah, big game player. Scott, she's got that ability where she can always get on the end of things. She's great timing getting on the end of things and getting into the box late. What did you make? Obviously, the fantastic strike, and obviously some of the not stick's not the right word, but just maybe hasn't had the best tournament, obviously because her place was taken by Lauren James. What did you make of sort of Ella Tuna, maybe some of the other England players?
Yeah, look, she's had a great impact on that semi-final, hasn't she? And
yeah,
that finish is that's a terrible picture. Jeez Louise, it's a stitch up. You know what? It was a top quality strike, and I mean, just the technical quality.
Yeah,
to hit the ball. If you're down at the park by yourself having a kick, and you try and hit it like that 50, 60, 70 times, you're probably not going to get any. I know I wouldn't. I'm hopeless, but to hit it like that away against the stadium hosts in a semi-final just shows the class she's got. And you see this often in major tournaments. The team that lifts the cup at the end is not always the team that has the best start. So many of these big teams, I know like France are notorious for this in tournaments. They start awful, they scrape out of the group, and then they end up going and winning the thing at the end. So I feel like England are hitting their form at the right time. Like this is when you want your players like Toon to start getting hot when it's the semi-final and in time for the final. You'd almost rather that than her start off, setting the world on fire and then it dips. So you guys have a really quality player there, and a big game player is what you need. And she made a big game moment in a big game, and that set you through to the final, because I think that rattled us. That really rattled us, and that then made us shift the game plan a little bit, and we just didn't look comfortable. So she's changed the game, and kudos to her for that. Great player.
Yeah, I was really pleased for her. Like I said, it's not been an amazing tournament for her. Obviously, Lauren James has come in her place, and she'll get a second bite of the cherry thanks to her teammates helping her out. But I think she keeps her place personally. I think Serena will stick with the same side, and I think it'd be the right thing to do. You've got the surprise package in Lauren James to come off of things are not going well. But coming to you, I thought England. You mentioned it, Dad. A lot of possession. I think is like 60% after about 25, 30 minutes. Very patient build-up play. Lauren Hemp has grown into this tournament in the last couple of games immeasurably. But one player I want to talk about, Hollie knows who's coming, because Jesus Christ. Well, let me compose the song. Alex Greenwood, right? I saw a piece. I sent this to Hollie from Tom Gary, who's a women's correspondent for the Telegraph Sport. And you got to remember, this lady plays. She started out as a left back for England, that I remember, and probably in her career. Moves into centre back, and has been integral as a left-sided centre back in the back three. She's had the most touches. I think before that game, the most touches in the tournament, 596, interceptions 13, completed passes in the tournament 436, and most progressive passes in the England side at 40 plus passes. And she plays as a left-sided centre back in the three. She's absolutely phenomenal. I actually think she's been the best England player in the tournament, in my humble opinion anyway. Very good on the ball, able to step into midfield. You saw the pass she put in for Stanway in the opening 8 minutes, where Stanway had the shot saved. Yeah, she's been. I don't know how much she's known about Alex Greenwood or what you've seen of her, but she's been integral to England. So, let's get your quick thoughts, man.
I mean, it's funny you mention her, and obviously that chance, because I remember when that ball was played in to Stanway, and obviously it's one of those chances you look at and you think to yourself, like, will that come back and cost us? Yeah, because my thoughts at the time was you got to bury that. You got to bury that. It was such a beautiful pass, and the way Stanway waited for it to kind of sit right, you just thought all that was missing was the finish. But yeah, she's an exceptionally good player. I mean, the way football is played now at the elite level in both, the women's and the men's game, you need centre backs that are comfortable on the ball. But most importantly, they also need to be able to defend. And she does both brilliantly well. You know, so it's like, you know, the talk of that, you know, the term Rolls Royce of a defender comes to mind.
Brilliant.
And that's exactly what she is. You know, she's a ball playing centre back. Obviously, it helps given the versatility that she's played in other positions. So obviously, when a player transitions from one position to another, they often bring along the skill sets that they've mastered in different positions. So she's comfortable on the ball, but she's also got the art of defending down to a T. So yeah, exceptional game, quality player. I mean, I wasn't aware of some of those stats. You see a player playing, you know that's a player. You know, at the same time, when you look at stats, you know, stats don't lie. But I thought England's defense as a whole played really well. Yeah. I think, you know, a lot of the time, I think, as Scott said, there weren't many times in that match where I felt we were troubled. There were a couple of moments, and there were moments when obviously Sam Kerr was involved that, you know, they were kind of, you know, heart in your mouth moments. But generally, I thought the defense played really, really well. I thought, you know, Millie Bright had a really good game at the back. I really liked a player that I've not massively seen a lot of, but Daly on the left-hand side it was. Yeah. Again, I thought she had an exceptional game. Carter as well. I think there was a lot of players in that match, you know, that obviously you look at the likes of Russo and Hemp and you think, you know, they get the plaudits, you know, with a goal each and assist each. You know, talking man of the match. But I think there were a lot of kind of unsung heroes in that 11 that had really, really solid games. And I think to beat Australia in their own backyard in a semi-final at the World Cup, it has to be a team performance rather than an individual. Like, you're not going to get over the line and perform so dominantly as they did unless everybody's doing their job in their respective positions. But yeah, she had an exceptional game, and that's exactly what you want at this level. You have to have a player who can play in that position, that can build up from the back, and she does it so brilliantly well.
No, great shout. Before I come to Hollie, it's like Hollie knows how much I love Alex Greenwood. But yeah, she's been.
Professional, Albert.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I didn't realize the stats. I know she was integral and important to England, and I've almost felt like she's been. And you got to bear in mind as well, when England won the Euros, she never started any of the games. She came on as a sub. She didn't play that many minutes, and I think this England going to 3 at the back has almost unlocked her even further to showcase how good she is. And like I said to Hollie and Jack on the last show, if she's not in the team in the tournament, something's got to be seriously wrong. And I said that before the semi-final. But yeah, I think what England did well, Hollie, what coming to do is they nullified Ford and Rasso. I thought defensively, Daly got herself into brilliant positions.
Yeah,
Lucy Bronze was a little bit more. She wasn't too much gun-ho as she normally is going down the right-hand side, but she had Jess Carter there to back her up. But yeah, sort of come into your thoughts, Hollie, before you quickly ask the guys.
No, I think you're right. And I think it's kind of alluding on to the fact, obviously, they didn't want to go full gun-ho because they were, obviously, from an Australian point of view, because of the attack that we have as well. And I think, like you said, we did a good job at making sure that those sides were kind of locked in. And like I said at the start of the stream, that the fact that it's the first time I've seen this England side really strong at the back. I mean, there's been occasions where I'm a bit like, Millie, don't pass that ball there, don't do this. But that game,
great pass, man. I thought, oh my God, man.
It's very stressful. But I thought in that game we did well to compose ourselves. And it alludes to the fact that it was probably the most intense environment we've been in, and we still managed to thrive off it. So hopefully that, again, it comes to the final, we managed to do so. But Scott, I want to come to you because obviously from an England side point of view, with Hemp, I think she has grown into this tournament. And how did you kind of fight? Because she's a bit of a nuisance, Scott, isn't she? Especially for that second goal and the fact that she just carried on trying to get that ball back and obviously managed to. And it's not the first time she's done it in the tournament. So how did you kind of feel facing Hemp?
Look, she does a little bit of everything really, really well. Like, you talk about versatility in modern football, and I think she's got that. Like, her ball, as I know Robbie said it in there, the ball for the third. Oh,
beautiful.
That was just perfection. But the way she just fought for everything, you could tell. Yeah, sometimes when a player's playing against their old club or a club that sold them, you can see that they want it. They really want to go out and make a point. I don't know if someone from Australia's wronged her, but she was playing like it was personal, man. I don't know if she's on Piers Morgan's checklist, like if you paid her to go really hard, but tell you what, she didn't give any of our players time on the ball. If one of our players had the ball near her, you weren't breathing, like she was on you. And then she was able to deliver on both ends of the pitch. So you guys have a peach of a player, absolute peach, and I'd expect her to have a big impact on the final against Spain as well. So, yeah, good player. We could have used her.
Scott, come in quickly.
But unfortunately, she's not one of ours.
Sorry, let me come in very, very, very quickly. Now, Scott, you make a good point because it's because of the injuries going in. Let me make this clear. The other nations that have had injuries going into the tournament, right? It's not just England, but we're going to focus on England. They've had players missing going into the tournament. They had the injury scare with Kira Walsh. They've had to change the system, and Serena Wiegman's shown her adaptability. And just moving her off the wing and moving her more central. She was an absolute nuisance to the Australian back four. She's a menace to society. Got her playing a little bit closer to Russo, which helped. And I just thought, Hemp in the last 2 games, I thought, you know what? This is the woman that I wanted to see, man, destroying teams and defenses. But come in, Hollie. Sorry, go on.
No, that's right. No, I think you make valid points of it in the sense that, like you said, moving her inside, and it's insane to see 2 up top for England effectively in that kind of sense. So that is also mad. And G, like Albert's kind of said, I think leading up to like maybe the last couple of games, we haven't seen the best of him. And again, is that because, like Albert said, they've moved them closer together to have that link-up play? Because I know we've already said it, that amazing pass through to Russo. It's really ignited those front two together.
It's you know what it is, though? It's all about, it just shows you that football, a lot of it is about systems and formations. And, you know, at the top level, you can just ever so slightly tweak something, you know, or change the role of a particular player. And it all of a sudden you feel as though you're watching a different team or you're watching a different player. And it can be just that ever so slight tweak. I thought she was phenomenal. Honestly, the pace, the strength. And one thing about her I love is just that tenacity. It's like she is, you know, we often describe, you know, players like, you know, like a Gabriel Jesus who just kind of creates like chaos. And that's what she does, because she's just like a nuisance up top. She doesn't give the defenders any time. You know, she's constantly pressing, constantly chasing. Like that ball up top for that goal, it wasn't particularly a great ball.
Right.
I mean, at that point, you know, if you slow that moment down and you go back, the defender and the Australian back line and the goalkeeper, they had the advantage. But a little bit of, you know, indecision, a little bit of hesitance at a key moment, she was there. Because, you know, for me in that position, you know, you got to be somewhat disappointed as a centre back or as a defence to kind of concede that goal, because, you know, the Australian defender was in front. I think it's a case of, you know, do you wait for it to run through to the goalie? Do you clear it? Do you clear your lines? You know, it's one of those things, and it happens in football. But yeah, at the end of the day, you've got to be there to get that finish. And I mean, it was a cool, calm finish. But that's what I really enjoyed about watching Hemp in this game, was that she was just everywhere. And her level of, you know, tenacity didn't drop. Like from the first minute to the end of the game, she you know, it was the same level of performance. And I can't imagine what it's like to play against her, but it must be an absolute nightmare, because that's what it felt. I was watching it, and it just felt like every time the ball was at her feet, or she was chasing like what would seem a loose course, you thought something might happen. And I think that was key. So yeah, she had an exceptionally good game. I think her moving in centrally with Russo, it works.
Yeah,
it works brilliantly well. And big shout out to Russo as well, because I mean, I know we'll go back to I won't talk about the third goal as such, but we go back to even the first goal with Toon. The play from Russo to set up that goal for Toon, I think a lot of people kind of skimmed over it, but it was exceptional. That ball kind of looped up in the air, the way she took it down, and she already knew like where she was going to put it. I don't think the pass was massively meant for Toon as she was arriving late. I can't remember who the other player was, who it kind of was a slightly behind them. But nevertheless, the control, the composure in such a tight corner, to be able to get that down and then put it into the danger area for the goal, I thought it was exceptional. So the fact that, moving Hempin centrally has worked so well, seeing the two, her and Russo combine, yeah, I think it's a problem for Spain come Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
No, great shout. Great. But people, like I said, smash the like button on my channel, Albert JTV, and Hollie's Hotspurs. And if you don't know what to do by now, people, this is what you should do. And there you have it, people. Don't caress the like button. Smash the like button for both channels, people, as I like to say. We've not got longer. We're 35 minutes in. Scott, I want to get your thoughts, actually, on Australia quickly. There's a lot to learn. Listen, you have a major tournament. You've gone deep in the tournament. You've still got a game to go. Still a lot of pride to play for. Who's impressed you in terms of the players that have stepped up or players that we should look out for in future tournaments?
Definitely young Mary Fowler.
Yeah,
I think has quite the future ahead of her. I mean, by no means is she an unknown, but I think there's a lot of potential there. And she had glimpses where just technically her ability on the ball, for me, so good. Her ball control, her movement with the ball, her passing range. She's certainly someone who I think has many exciting years ahead of her. Obviously, we'll see Sammy Kerr back fully fit. Needs no introduction. From there, look, someone who maybe I think really underwhelmed, and we will see better from is Ellie Carpenter as well. Right, now she just didn't really settle this tournament. But you know what? And it's been quite disappointing. She's copped a lot of stick on social media after that semi-final. And this seems to be the thing in modern football now. When your team loses, just go and abuse someone. It's pretty disgraceful. But
scapegoat.
No, always it's easier to just pack it on one person. But I think we're going to see more from her. Like when the next tournament rolls around, I think we'll see a stronger Ellie Carpenter for this experience and what she's been through. She came back from, I'm pretty sure it was an ACL injury, and a bad ACL injury. So for her to rush back, play this tournament, even though it wasn't her best, and I wouldn't say her performances impressed me, that bit of tenacity, and I think this experience is going to give us a much better Ellie Carpenter for the future. But Fowler's certainly.
What about Cooney Cross as well, Scott? How's she going?
There's some transfer rumors around her, aren't there? I heard something on the radio the other day about her getting a move. Look, she did all right, I thought. Again, she came in not too bad defensively, supported us well. Hayley Rasso, top player. But Cooney Cross, I don't know. She had her moments. There were some moments where I was really impressed, but others where I felt she could have given a bit more. I just found her a little bit slow on the ball. And the modern game is so quick. You've got to just get it out quick, particularly in the middle of the park where you've got to be spraying it left, right, forwards, back. So my main one's Fowler. She's the one. And Rasso, like Robbie said, she's gone to, she's signed for Real Madrid. She had a great tournament too. She had a poor very poor semi-final, but a really good tournament. So a couple to keep an eye on.
Yeah, great shout, Scott. That's why I want to get you on, not to talk about the result, but you'll see, your the future talent coming through for the Matildas. G, come into, you're going to wrap it up. We are down to the final two. Yeah, there we have it. España versus. I won't say that. I won't say this. The Spanish fan said England because I'll never get it right anyway. But Spain versus England semi-final. I think that's the right way around anyway. Interesting with Spain, actually. Give you a bit of a. You guys might notice a bit of a backstory in regards to Spain. There's a lot of unrest actually, going back a long way with their coach Jorge Vilda. I think 15 of the squad members didn't want to play for Spain if he was in charge. They're not happy with his methods. a bit draconian, as well as talking about facilities. Only 3 of the players recently got called back up into the World Cup squad, which one of them is my favorite ever player ever, which is Bon Mati. I think Una Basho came back into the squad, and I think it was the third player. I forgot, it's gone out of my head. I think it might have been Al Dente as well, or Keldante, I can't remember her name. It's gone out of my head, but a lot of unrest, and this was only their third tournament, third World Cup, and they made the finals. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. What's your thoughts sort of going into the final?
I think with regards to the unrest, I've seen many a manager, many a side go into a tournament not having the best lead up to it and then going on to win it. We've seen it at club level, we've seen it at international level. So, I mean, I think when it comes to crunch time, I think a lot of that, kind of unrest is kind of put to one side. Don't get me wrong, in a high pressure situation, sometimes it can bubble over and it can resurface. But as much as it can be a bad thing, sometimes it can actually work in a team's favor. A team can just kind of click and just collectively come together and just make it happen. It's going to be a tough match. I think, unlike the Australia game, we're going to be facing an opposition that can keep the ball. When you look at the way they play, I mean, it's just textbook Spanish football, isn't it? It's possession football. It's keep the ball. It's frustrate the opposition. It's build up play, and then within an instant, they can just put in a defense splitting person. Before you know it, you're a goal down. So it's going to be a tough game. And I mean, if you go back to the game in the Euros, I think we were 5 or 10 minutes away from being eliminated. If it weren't for obviously a late, I think it was a late equalizer from
Toon scored, Toon.
Yeah, Toon, and obviously the winner. I think that we got in extra time, so it's going to be a tough game. But I think what I saw against Australia was an England side that was not only good on the ball but good off the ball. And I'm just hoping, don't get me wrong, there have been instances before this match where we haven't been as good defensively. But as Scott was saying, this is what you want. When you're at this point in the tournament, this is when you want your players to perform. You want your defense to be, watertight. You want your midfielders to start pulling the strings, and you want your strikers to score. And when you look at that performance against Australia, you had all 3. Because this is it now. This is the final. And this is the time when you want to be coming into form. So it's going to be a different game, difficult game. It's going to be a very different game in that I'm not sure what the possession stats are going to be like. I'm not sure how we're going to really kind of counter that. But I think the important thing is that when Spain have the ball, we just have to be watertight at the back. We've got to be defensively strong. And then when we have the ball, we know what we can do on the ball. I think Russo is going to be key in this match, because what I saw in that Australia game and all the games I've seen with the Lionesses is she's such an important outlet. So important. It's like you can go 5-10 minutes without having the ball. You can knock it longer up top, and she's got such brilliant close control and strength. She's that option. You can hit it long, and all of a sudden you can just bypass the press. She's brought the ball down. She brings other players into the match. So I think her role is going to be massively key. I think when you're playing a team that is going to probably have more possession than you need a front player who can hold up the ball and break up the play. And I think Russo is going to be key to how we win this match, because I do think we will. I think we've got all the credentials. I think we've got all the players. I think we've got the big game performance in us to get over the line. We beat them in the Euros. There's no reason why we won't beat them in the World Cup final. So it's going to be a difficult game. Technically, they're absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, possession ball, it's like second nature to them. So key to us really performing in this match is to be as good on the ball, when we don't have it as to when we have it. And I think Russo is going to be the difference on Sunday, because, it's so key. When you look at football at all different levels, whether it be club level, whether it be international level, it's so key when you have that outlet, that player that you can just kind of count on. In terms of a hold-up player, strength, bringing in the wingers, bringing in other players, she's going to be key to the performance against Spain. So, tough match. I can't sit here and say, you know, I'm not nervous because, you know, they are an exceptionally good side. But I just think we have the credentials. I think we have the mentality. I think we have the ability. I think we've got the know-how, the experience to just cope with anything Spain's going to throw at us. So, yeah, I think we'll be all right, man.
See, G's very confident, cross fingers as well. Scott, coming to you quicker. I'm going to finish up with Holly. Yeah, Spain, they will keep the ball. They will keep the ball well in it, and then they will have lion's share possession. Like I said, Atana Bombard is obviously Kira Walsh's teammate. This is Spain's lineup in the last game against Sweden. Una Basha was a fantastic right back. Paredes is experienced as centre back. Redondo's done well up front. Hermoso is just class. And they've got a youngster, Scotty, Salma Perello, 19 years of age. She's a wonder kid, man. The woman has played at 3 finals at the age of 19, under 17, under 20 in the national side on Sunday. It's going to be incredible. She's going to be key as well. But Scott, what's your thoughts about this final quickly, mate?
It's coming home. I think, honestly, guys, I think the hardest match in terms of atmosphere and environment was that semi against us. You had a full stadium of Aussies in there who were really right behind the Matildas. You came through that. You did the business in the Euros. This Spain team, to me, while they've played some scintillating football at times, they've looked far from settled. This is the same team that I watched Japan dismantle earlier in the tournament 4-0. And what I saw in that Japan game was that if they go behind and if you can press them, they're going to make mistakes. Yeah. So I think if you've got some of your menaces out there and you are really playing an aggressive pressing game with someone like, you know, Lauren James to come off the bench if you need her, because I believe she should be on the bench to start this one. Yeah. I actually think it's not only coming home, but it's coming home in a bit of a gold glut. I think it's going to be really convincing. I'm saying England by 2 or 3.
Oh, wow.
I'm confident for England. I hope I'm not putting a jinx on you, but I really feel you're going to do them and do them convincingly.
Wow. That was very positive from the panel. And last but not least, my amazing co-host. What's your thoughts? Like I mentioned before, like there's a lot of players missing for Spain that it's not injury. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's gone on, man. And luckily, like I said, the 3 players I mentioned, they were brought back into the fold. And that's only 3 of them. So yeah, what's your thoughts going into the final, Holly?
Obviously, it's a final, and I think, like, kind of adding on to what Scott said, I think that game against Australia and that environment has set us up really well for this final to really be able to perform under that kind of pressure. And yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's a final, but hey, we were in the Euros final. We managed to deal with it. So I don't want to sound too cocky, but I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. I'm not going to be as bold as Scott. No, I'm not saying it, man, because I'm a Spurs fan and I jinx everything. So I'm not saying it.
Yeah, just keep quiet. Well, not for the purpose of the podcast. You got to talk, but we're going.
So yeah, I'm going to say we're going to win. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy because it's going to be a good game. Let's put it that way. I'm going to put it as that. I'm going to put it on the fence. There we go.
Well said. Myself, yeah. Listen, I kind of almost see how this game will go. I think the change in formation for England has worked, other than probably the Nigeria game. Going to be a different style of game. England have come up against every different continent I think possible in this tournament. So they've learned each game as they go along. I'll probably go for England to win 3-2. Spain are too good not to score. I just did my own humble opinion, but I think England have got enough firepower. And one thing they were against Australia, which you have to be, I think Gustafsson mentioned it, in tournament football, you've got to be killers in the 18-yard area. You have to be. And England have got the ability to do that. But yeah, I think England 3-2, people. But people, the show has come to a close. My 2 amazing guests, my amazing co-hosts. Like I said, smash the like for Albert J TV and Holly's Hot Spurs on this lovely Friday morning, or in Scott's case, Friday night, evening, wherever it is, early hours of the morning. I want to thank my 2 amazing guests. Firstly, coming to Scott, thank you for the time difference, obviously, coming on. Tell the people where they can find you, my friend.
Find me on Twitter. Find me on Twitter these days, just bantering, having a bit of fun on there. But no, look, always happy to come on, especially at 6 p.m. I just quietly, I've loved watching all the European fans online complaining about having to wake up with
exactly.
the time.
Good point.
I love it because you know what? Every weekend, that's life, man. That's life down here. So enjoy your rest, guys. I hope you're all up nice and early for the final. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter for now. And who knows where I'll pop up over the Premier League season.
Yeah, no, Scott, love to get you on, man. All the way from down under, man. But last but not least, G Talks, man. Thank you for coming on, bro. Tell us where the people can find you.
No, thank you. Obviously, thank you, Albert. Thank you, Holly. And it's always a pleasure, streaming with Scott, as always. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter, just like Scott. Handles on the screen at G Talks Arsenal. But I'm also part of a Arsenal-related YouTube channel called The Armory TV. So if you want to see more of me, other than on here, then obviously hit up The Armory TV on YouTube or hit me up on Twitter at G Talks Arsenal.
I appreciate it. I think they will on my side of the channel. This is a guy live on two channels. The Holly side of it, I'm not too sure if I'm being honest with you, but
yeah,
it's all right. It's all right.
I don't think I'm going to get much support from that side.
And last but not least, my dear co-host, listen, we're 7 shows in. We've got 1 more to go, irrespective of the result. Yeah, looking forward to it, and we will definitely be back. I think we're going to do the review the same night, actually. The same day, which makes a little bit more sense. But Holly, where can the people find you, man?
Like I say, before I say that, I want to say every week you put so much work into this show. I literally try and turn up on time every show, so all the credit goes to you, my friend. But yeah, you can just find me at Hollie Agombar on Twitter and then Hollie Hotspurs on YouTube. And yeah, no, I don't want to jinx it, but I say we always have a good time collabing and good things come of it in terms of football. So yeah, thank you, Albert. Where can it is? Well, I'm not saying it, I'm not jinxing it. But Albert, where can everybody find you, my friend?
Everywhere, Holly. Every conceivable platform.
BBC, Sky Sports.
that as well, which has been a blast. I did kind of say thank you to people that was very supportive. Thank you. Unbelievable experience. But yeah, here and everywhere. I got my own channels. People know Albert JTV. Live stories will commence at some point. Just guess I have to take time with that one. That's my baby. But and obviously weekly surgery is an ongoing thing, which gets me to get other fans from other clubs. Obviously, Holly have collabed a little bit more, but yeah, that's where you find me. Like I said, the guy along the bottom of the screen, everybody's Twitter handles are there, so come and follow and subscribe. And yeah, that's it. We will see you Sunday evening about 7 p.m. I believe it is, Holly. Is that right? Yes,
I think
okay.
So.
We're talking about it coming home. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But that's Albert JTV and Holly's Hotspurs. Over and out, people. We will see you Sunday when I can eventually find the outro. Where's it gone? It is. It's gone. No, it's there. I'm joking. I'll see you soon, people. Take care. Oh, your audio listeners, it'll be on Spotify and Apple download. So look out for that, and we'll see you soon. Take care. God bless.